Hi, good morning. So we're looking at working in teams unit today, learning outcome 2, which is understand the key features of an effective team leader. So we're going to be looking at a number of outcomes. So 2.1 is outline the role of a team leader and the skills and qualities they require. 2.2 is describe different leadership styles. The merit question is explain your own personal preferred leadership style, and then the distinction is evaluate the team leadership skills of a specific individual. So let's start here. Hi, Vicky.
Hi.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Brilliant. I was just going to start the recording because we're quite tight on time. So you've made it just in time for it. Fantastic. So I'm just going to go get into it.
Okay.
And then we'll go through the questions in each one.
Okay.
So we're going to be looking at 2.1, which is outline the role of a team leader and the skills and qualities they require. So a team leader is a person who's in charge of a team. You'll have a number of members or colleagues that are within your direction, and you'll be, giving them directions, instructions, you'll guide them. And the whole purpose of you being there with your team is just to guide them to achieve a particular goal that you're working towards. So a good team leader, an effective team leader, will know what their strengths and weaknesses and motivations are of their team. So over the next few slides, we're just going to go over the different roles of a team leader. So a good team leader will provide purpose. So everything does start with a vision. So you're not going to be able to have a team without actually knowing why you're there in the first place. You need to know what your common goal is, what you're actually trying to do. You work together, you communicate, you make sure that you're passing on and delegating your work to your team members, you're inspiring them, you're telling them what the actual big picture is. So even though they've all got their own little roles to play, everybody will be contributing towards the bigger picture, which is the goal that you want to accomplish. So you got to, number 2 is build a star team, not a team of stars. So your team's not going to reach its full potential if all of your team members are, willing to put aside their own personal agendas or goals. They've got to work towards the team. So as a basketballer, if Irvin Magic Johnson actually put it, that everybody in a championship team doesn't get publicity, but everybody can actually say that he is a champion because they were part of that team. So being a team player actually teaches you to cooperate and make a winning team. And then everybody in that team is winner. It's not saying that, oh, I'm going to be the star of this team and someone's going to say to me, oh, Afsha was the best here. Everybody else was okay, but she was the greatest. It doesn't work that way. It's about saying, yeah, this team was fantastic. They all work towards it. They're all winners. And having this type of mentality actually helps to resolve any conflicts and dysfunctional behavior. It really works towards having a nice cohesive team. Number 3 is establish shared ownership for the results. So look at yourself, look at your own results within your group, share your responsibility, have a nice reward scheme in with there, keep your team informed. Make sure that everybody knows exactly what they're doing and what sort of rewards they're going to be getting, depending on what it is. It might just be, you get a 10-minute extra break, or you might get to finish early if you meet your targets. So just simple things sometimes do motivate your team. Number 4 is to develop team members to your fullest potential. So do try to bring out your best in people. Help them as much as you can. Help them to develop. And this will help them feel like they're at ease and they can participate quite well within your team then. Number 5 is make the work interesting and engaging. So if you do make it interesting and engaging, you're going to have team members that actually want to come into work and they don't dread and think, oh, I've got that task to do, or I've got to go and do my work over there. They'll be like, yay, come on, let's get going, let's do it. So encourage them to think for themselves, to take risks, and to improve themselves as well. Number 6 is to motivate and inspire team members. So be enthusiastic, inspire them, energize them, let them stretch their goals, let them work towards what they're doing, and let them, celebrate their own accomplishments as well. Number 7 is develop a self-managing team. So, when you're having a team, you don't want to be micromanaging them all the time. You want them to have a bit of autonomy where they can actually say, right, I've got these tasks and I'm going to set my own schedule up and I'm going to work on them during this week. As long as they're meeting their goals, as long as they've got their targets and they're coming in on time, let them work and manage themselves. So be open to ideas, delegate your authority, especially because you can't be sitting with them constantly. You might have other things to do as well. Or you might have 3-4 teams under you that you're doing different tasks. So you can't really stay with one team all the time. So it's nice to have that trust where you know that they can manage themselves. 8 is to lead and facilitate constructive communication. So make sure there's good communication happening, not in a bad way where everyone's gossip or arguing or, not getting along with each other. Make sure that it's constructive where they're talking about their goals, they're talking about the assignments, talking about how they're going to schedule their work, how they're going to solve any problems. You might want to talk about some sort of feedback that you're giving to each other, some discussions. Be truthful, and it really does work towards having a nice communicating team where you're all, openly talking about things that you like, some things that have annoyed you and said, right, I didn't quite appreciate the way you spoke to me that time. So it does help having a nice open communication. It resolves issues before they start. 9 is to monitor but don't micromanage. Again, like I mentioned earlier, monitor your team, but you're not there to, sort out every teeny tiny little thing to do or say, no, you're doing that wrong, don't do this, you're typing that wrong, you put that in the wrong order. You're not there to do that. Only intervene if you see that there's going to be a big issue. Otherwise, let them get on with their work. As long as they're doing it, let them do it. Don't boss them. Don't dictate them. So are you okay with those points that we've gone over, Victoria?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay.
So that was the role of a team leader. And now an effective team does actually have characteristics and traits as well that, a team leader does do to make sure that their team members trust them and follow them. So we're going to talk about what those are now. So a good team leader is a good communicator. They got good verbal and written skills, and they can actually be understood and listen to their team members. They're organized, so they're able to put in systems in place that, that will follow a certain schedule or a goal, and they're able to organize other people to make sure that things are getting done when they're meant to be getting done. They're confident, so they've got a good confidence that this team I've chosen this team because of their abilities. They're able to do these tasks. I need to just let them get on with it. So a self-confident team leader will actually reassure their team members and say that you are part of my team. I've chosen you because you can do this, and they'll reassure them. A team leader, which is good, will be respectful to others. They're not going to talk down to you. They're not going to bark at you. They're actually going to speak to you respectfully, and they're not going to feel like, oh, I'm better than you or any of that. They're fair and kind, so they'll treat their team members fairly and kindly. They'll give them rewards and recognition, but also if there's anything that needs to be disciplined, they'll do that as well. A good team leader is also an example of integrity. So to be an effective team leader, you need to be honest and open with your team members. If you're hiding things or you've got something going on in the sly or you've got your own agenda, you're going to lose that trust with your team. So it's important that you are open and honest with them. and treat them the way you want to be treated as well. I think that's extremely important, regardless of what position you are in life. You think I might be in the biggest or highest position here. If you see someone who might be less paid than you, working part-time, they might be one of the canteen staff members or anything like that. Nobody is below you. Everybody is equal.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you've got to be influential, so you've got to inspire your team and say, you come on, the get-go type of things, like, come on, we can do this, make decisions, make sure it's effective, and actually communicate with them. And, don't just decide things yourself and say, this is happening. Communicate with your team and, influence them and help them reach a conclusion. You've got to be willing to delegate. So, to be honest, one person can't do everything. So if you've got something that you've got team members that have the time and also have the skill to do it, give them some of your tasks. Share it around between all of yourselves. You'll be getting things done a lot quicker. And probably better than you trying to manage everything, to be honest.
Yeah.
Be a powerful facilitator. So a facilitator is like a thing. Facilitate means to get something done, to make it easy, to make it happen. So a team leader has to do all of these things. They've got to understand who they've got in their team. They've got to understand their goals, and they've got to make sure that those people in those teams actually match their skills so they can meet those goals as well. And again, they've got to be a skilled negotiator. So they've got to negotiate, different work skills. They've got to sort out any conflicts. They've got to, do decision making. They've got to make sure that, is this target going to be met, or do we need to make our, try and get a couple of days extra, and so on there. So that's 2.1, where we just looked at team leaders and the skills and qualities that they need. Do you have any questions on this part?
No, I'm okay.
Yeah. It's quite simple and straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 2.2, we're going to look at different leadership styles. I think there's 12 leadership styles that we'll be looking at here. And when you've done this, your for 2M1 is quite similar. So according to research by somebody called ATHE Center, leadership style is the way a person uses their own power to lead other people. And there's lots of different leadership styles in completely different ways. So I'm just going to go through those 12 different roles, and we'll see what the styles are.
My mum said that she wants to use these after I finish all my assignments. Because she's a manager. She said, yes. I will take these.
Oh. So you've got number 1 is autocratic leader style. So autocratic leadership is centered on the boss. So this person will think, I am the authority. I've got all the responsibility. I'm going to make all the decisions, and I'm not going to talk to anybody else. It's my job. I'll do what I want. Autocratic leadership style, the work environment is quite rigid. There's no flexibility, so you're just stuck in what you're doing. You, as a person working under an autocratic leader, you won't really have that much say in how things are run. You'll just be told what to do and be expected to just do it. So some of these leaders that have this type of style are Albert J. Dunlap from the Sunbeam Corporation, and also you'll be familiar with Donald Trump from the Trump Organization. So these are some of the famous leaders that think that, okay, this is what I say, you do it, or you can go on the highway, that's it. Then you've got democratic leadership. I quite like this one a little bit. So this is where the team member or the leader is still in charge, but instead of saying that I do everything, it's my responsibility, I'm the only one that's going to make decisions, they actually involve their team members, their workers, within the conversations. They'll say, right, we've got this here, they'll be communicating, and they'll be like, we've got a couple of things that need to do. What do you think? And they'll actually involve their feedback before they make a decision. So within this, they've got fairness, they've got competence, it's creativity, they've got look at courage a lot, intelligence and honesty, because they really are asking everybody around them, what do you think? But the one problem with the democratic leadership style is that this type of leader will always have to be asking questions. They can't really make snap decisions. So if it comes to someone over the phone, you coming to me and saying, Afsha, what are we going to do, this or that? I'll be like, I don't know. I need to go and ask everyone. So there can be a downfall in that way. You got strategic leadership. So strategic leadership is someone who is just the leader or the head of an organization. They're normally at the top of the level, like a managing director or a CEO or something, but they can be coming down onto the floor as well. Now, a strategic leader normally fills the gaps between the need for new possibilities and practicalities. So they've got effective leadership skills, they work in good terms, and they normally they have around about 55% of their thinking is done strategically, so they don't really think about things practically about what is going on in the floor. They can be out of touch with those. It's like, what is going to be good for my organization, not what's really going to be good for my workers. Then you've got transformational leadership. So unlike all the other leadership styles, transformational leadership is about having change in your organization or in yourself or in your team. Transformational leaders actually motivate their colleagues quite a lot. They set challenging expectations and they try and get you to achieve high performances. So they do sort of encourage you and they empower you and they're trying to make you work even better. Then you got number 5, which is team leadership. So team leadership is just like when you're trying to inspire your team, you're providing a strong sense of purpose and direction for your team. So team leadership is about working with the hearts and minds of all of those involved. It looks at teamwork. It looks at cooperating with each other. Now, the challenging part of this leadership is that it might not succeed. So, because you might be very highly reliant on your team. You might be too much thinking and too trusting and over the top nice with your team. And that might lead to you having poor leadership qualities because you're not really doing what's best for the actual team itself. You're doing what's best for each individual and you're letting things slide. If somebody, like if I was to come up to you and say, oh, Victoria, I've had such a bad day and the children wouldn't wake up and my kids, I couldn't get them to school because the car wasn't working and I don't think I'll be able to do this today, I'll do it tomorrow. And you'd be like, oh, okay, it's fine. So it's you letting me slide, isn't it? And you're not really thinking about the whole team as a whole.
Yeah.
Then you got cross-cultural leadership. So this type of leadership exists in different cultures and societies. It's normally quite industrialized, and it's normally like the front runners of a group where you're doing it. So the best example I can think of this is if you were to go from here to, say, Singapore, and you were to go and try and lead a team on a factory floor over there, your style of leadership is going to be different because of your different environment. You're used to a particular thing. The people in that country are used to maybe more of a laid-back style or more of a, let's just get the work done, and you might be different. So because of where you live and your cultures, your leadership styles might have to be adjusted. Then you got the facilitative leadership. So a facilitative leadership is very dependent on what outcomes you're getting. And they're not looking at skills, they're just looking at what the end result is. So it just looks at how you're functioning, what sort of work is getting done, and it just makes sure that everything is getting run and working smoothly so that you can meet your targets and you can actually just get on and say, I've met this goal today, next one now. Now, laissez-faire leadership is where you give authority to your employees. Now, your employees are allowed to work as they want. They choose to work when they want. They don't have much interference. This type of style is the least satisfying style and the least effective style, because if you're giving me the choice of when, not everybody can manage their own schedules or be disciplined to work in a certain style on their own. So you might strike lucky and get some members that you're like, yeah, they're quite autonomous. They will just get on and do their tasks. But then other ones you'll have that won't turn up to work on time or won't get their tasks done, and you're falling behind because of that. 9 is transactional leadership. So this type of leadership, it maintains or continues the status quo. So it's a leadership that involves an exchange process where anybody that's following it gets immediate rewards for carrying out the leader's orders. So for example, I used to work in a call center when I was younger. And on that, we sold car insurance, but we were also told if you plug our loans as well, then you're going to be getting this reward and that reward. So everybody there was just plugging the loans. Whoever did the most on that team would get an hour off. And they could get to come in a little bit later the following day. So those were the type of things that we got immediate reward for what we were doing. We knew that we had to pull it up, make sure that we were filling their quota, and then we'd get our reward out of it. Then you got coaching leadership. So this type of leadership, it just looks at where the leader is just coaching you, they're helping you, they're telling you, they're inspiring you, they're being quite hands-on with you, and they will actually make sure you get to where you want to go. Charismatic leadership, where you're looking at like your own behavior, actually, your own charisma and your own personality towards this. So a charismatic leader is quite popular. They look at specific objects, they're quite liked with their teams. So you're really going off your own sort of behavior for this one. Then the final one is visionary leadership. So this type of leadership, it just looks at what sort of steps and methods and processes people are going through. And it's quite a successful leadership style for someone to have a vision in them. But those people who are quite visionary normally they do give these big, enormous ideas and say, we'd like to do this, X, Y, and Z and get to there. And sometimes it can be a little bit realistic and outside of normal reality. So we have for here. Now, I'm not really put too much down for this because it's quite simple. On here, because you've looked at different leadership styles, for 2M1, explain your own personal preferred leadership style. So you're just going to choose one of those styles. What do you like? For me, I like democratic leadership style because you still got a little bit of, you've got a say in it, but you're still talking about your colleagues as well within that. But then I also like small parts of autocratic where you have, at the end of it, you're saying that, right. So you can sort of say that I like style 1 or I like style 5, and you can have a mix of them. So just explain what your leadership style is, or explain which style you like, and then maybe you can mix and match some of them. So you can talk about 2 of them if you want. But just look at those leadership styles and explain which one you like. For 2D1, you're going to evaluate the team leadership skills of a specific individual. So think about your boss at work now, or one of your previous bosses. So you're going to think about what their style is. So complete an evaluation of a specific individual's team leadership skills. So talk about how they communicate, how they motivate. Are they creative? Do they listen to feedback? Do they do positivity, or do they just give you orders and tell you what to do? So that's what you're doing for these 2.